Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to Yellow is the Code on UNC USA. I'm here with Mr. Suman Singh. And Mr. Suman Singh, welcome back to Yellow is the Code program. I see our government is hard at work. I see our Minister of Works is meeting with all the respective stakeholders. I saw she met with that transport, what do you call it, the passage for
Yeah,
Galleon.
Galeon's Passage,
Yeah, yeah,
boat that carries cargo. That's a cargo
yes,
boat to Tobago.
yes. I saw that taking place. I mean, and our counselors are hard at work, getting the job done. I also saw our national security team met with the U.S. Embassy charge d'affaires
Yes.
to discuss Caribbean security and the security of Trinidad and Tobago. So, with that, Mr. Singh, is there anything that you would like to address tonight? Basically, starting off, because as I look
Let's.
at this information here, um,
Yes, I would like to start off with a couple of things, and I just like to welcome our listeners online through the various social media platforms. We welcome you. So, with that in mind, I think the first order of priority I'd like to um, you know, just say a hearty gratitude to the Minister of Homeland Security and Minister of Justice to combine for having talks with the charge d'affaires of the U.S. Embassy. No wonder, and I think this is an offshoot from rumblings of uh, the psycho-narcotic leader Maduro. He's claiming that through his one of his ministers that no, Trinidad belongs to him, and also the Essequibo region in Guyana belongs to him, and so on. I guess going back to the whole expansionist policy. Now I don't know if the President Maduro is doing this and doing the bidding for Rowley and Stuart Young to put pressure on the new government. That's my considered effort. So he's trying to stir up, you know, old wounds, I would say, and trying to make some mileage and see how that will help the PNM by destabilizing the work being done by the present government.
I mean, it's just a few weeks and we really hit the ground running, I mean, there's so much things getting done, and I think it is threatening to them and making them look really, really bad. And then they have a lot to explain about the money part. So go
All
ahead.
right. This is just the geopolitical aspect to endorse Rowley and Stuart Young. Remember, the latter went to Venezuela 18 times, eh? And 18 times for what? Was there any oil deal as such over the 10 years? He was going all the time. What transpired out of everything? Did we get any what was the ROI on this project? Anything at all came into fruition after all these years? Or was there something more sinister about it that the country does not know? We can only speculate. So, like everything else, once you go into any project at all, you want to know what's in it for you. And the promise by the PNM is that, hey, well, once we find oil, there'll be good sharing and so on. But they closed down the damn refinery. So what sense does it make at that time? You will get your share of the oil, and what are you going to do with it? Sell it? You're selling it at a raw commodity. So what you put in no value added into that process of refining the oil and all the byproducts of the oil. So it was all a hoax and a big lie, and it put that on the Trinidad population to swallow. There was never any intent otherwise, just to enrich themselves from all of this. So that's the first order of business. The second order of business, I'll say, is the liaison again with the U.S. Southern Command, again stemming from Maduro musings and his expansionist ideas for the region. And then on top of that, he's telling the Honorable Prime Minister to tone down. I don't know if you saw that bit of news. Oh, don't take it so hard, just tone down the
tone
speed,
down.
tone down.
Well, the boss
But
lady not taking any nonsense from
that's
anybody,
right. And
any side.
that is the correct approach.
So tread carefully on how you approach Trinidad and Tobago. Tread carefully on how you approach her.
No
And that
BS
goes
this
for
time
all and
around.
sundry.
Yes, no BS this time around. Straight to the point. Straight to the point. I think, and that was what she was guilty of in the last time she was there.
Being too nice.
Being too nice and having a soft heart for everybody.
Well, she still has a soft heart, but it's just that she's not going to intend to let anybody walk over her, and I, for one, is not going to tolerate that, and a lot of us are not going to tolerate that.
That's what, and the people gave her the sanction. And I need to tell you this. I don't know if you saw the NACTA poll out of New York. Bisram is in the guy's name.
You mean the one mine organization?
They claim to be, North American.
He speaks for everybody.
Polling agency.
You and I will talk more about this guy, off here.
Yeah, so he said Camilla's popularity has shot up to 84%. I don't know where he got those figures, huh?
No, he's looking right now to get something from her. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, trying to,
yeah,
play nice guy now.
Yeah, they were kissing up to the PNM because they figured PNM was going to win, and there was no chance. And most of them did more to hurt her chances of taking government, for the fact that they think they had something to gain on the other side. So,
but Gary,
it is no forgiveness. According to Peron, there's no forgiveness from me. I am not yet to forgive. And there was a Western says, God forgive, but I don't. Remember that movie?
But that's not a movie. That's my mantra. That is my personal mantra, because I don't think man has the ability to forgive. If man has the ability to forgive, then man is playing God. And only somebody's religious leaders think them can forgive, and them is God,
Well, if the forgiveness comes in the instructions, but what I'm saying to you is, on a personal note, for me, based on what I see happen in the country, there is zero tolerance on my part with what took place there, and
with that comes no forgiveness. You pay your.
Welcome, Dr. Mirage. Dr. Mirage in the house. Welcome.
Oh, how are you, man? How are you?
Good, my friend.
How are you? Good to see you guys, man. I've been seeing you quite a while.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to know what's going on with you.
I had some visitors and I'm back and forth, so that's why I'm kind of tied up a little bit. But I have time to talk to you guys. My mind is on you all for all the time, So.
Yes, and thanks for the little email. That's the encouragement we need to continue on and do our best as we go forward. I'll come to your point in 1 minute, Mr. Maraj, Dr. Maraj. Yes. Yeah, Gary. So, this 84% rating on the Prime Minister, all of a sudden, he's trying to win some or score some points with the UNC.
Yeah, well, we're not interested in his rating at all.
But you know what? Not only him, where are all the pollsters before the election? Have you heard any one of them open their mouth after the election results were disclosed? Where the Nigel Henry and all of these guys from UE and this and that and blah,
all the
blah, blah.
experts and experts.
Yeah, these are the expert, P&M experts, man. This is Jillian John walking.
Yeah, that's the Minister of Work, not work. We don't work in the UNC, we work.
Yes. So you had a coordination meeting with all these stakeholders and so on, along with I think that's Khadija as well, right? Ministry of
Khadija, I have Khadija stuff here. I just have to pull it up.
But it's not her sitting on the opposite.
Khadija had a different forum that was going on, and let me just pull the information up, as you will see here. I'm going to put it on in the chat here. 1 second. So it was the Caribbean Forum 2025, concluded on Friday, June 6th. And it's after 3 impactful days of dialogue and collaboration and knowledge sharing among urban and regional planning professionals. Right? We walk in. From across the Caribbean. The Honorable Khadija Ahmed, Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, delivered the feature address at the closing ceremony, where her presence underscored the critical role of strategic planning and governance in advancing sustainable and urban and rural development. Now, I couldn't ask for a better person to lead this.
Correct. And that's so appropriate. With her having gone through, the disaster readiness story as well as the crime, the flood mitigation, those things impact so much on strategic planning, on urban planning in particular. So it was very timely that such a meeting, a Caribbean conference, was held.
Here's our Minister of Work. Right?
Yes.
Well, she made some site visits and joined all of the heads of department to continue weekly review.
Yeah, this is
ministry job status.
Yeah, the status reports now. All projects going on in the Ministry of Works report every week on the progress. That's what they call it, a progress report. What you achieved over the past week and what level has been achieved out of the entire project and so on. So at any given point in time, it gives her a snapshot as the progress of all the projects in the Ministry of Works. So that is very timely. Yes. Now, I wanted to leave this Mr. Mirage's one for last. We spoke about it yesterday a little bit, the comments of this criminologist, Mr. Figuera, I think is his name.
Yeah, Darius Figuera. This man, I intended to deal with him tonight. I didn't know Dr. Maharaj was coming to address it. This man spins race into everything, and he's one of those that would always try to drag race into it, especially what happened. You see what where the UNC is there now. In fact, I understand there's a lot of race dialogue taking place on social media, and they are trying to cause division among those who came across to the UNC. A lot of the Afro-Trees have been attacked, insulted, threatened. I mean, you name it, because they were joining the Hindu Indian party, right? This is how they saw it. They didn't saw it as a prime minister who did very well for the country previously. And the people realized and recognized that fact. And that is why they have gravitated back to her after this bully and this infidel prime minister brutalized the people in the country. I mean, he reminds me of a man who has children and neglect him and go buy the best suit. He took the best for himself, exiting the country. He took the best money for himself after all the damages they did in exiting his position. And he didn't have the testicular fortitude to stand up and face Mrs. Visesa. In all, he run him out for the 99.9% of the time. And when the election came across, he jumped out. He jumped out the fight.
He cut road, man. He cut road.
Yeah.
That's what we say in local parlance. He cut road.
So they want a twist. You know, let me tell you something. We understand in the United States there are very racist things taking place here. But we're not talking about, remember, Afro-Trinidad supported the Stand Your Ground law and supported the Prime Minister on this also. All race of people did. All creed of people did because they have had it, but been attacked and brutalized inside their home. No, nobody is barking about the criminals for the last 10 years or beyond that has been masquerading the country with heavy artillery. Could have flowed hundreds of rounds within seconds, right? Coming to your side of your house, killing, raping your mother and your sister and damaging in front of your house, all the kidnapping, all the extortion, that don't bother them. But the minute the Prime Minister and the UNC talked about giving people the rights to defend themselves, that offend them badly, and that is going to cause racial tension. So the attack on the citizens across the country didn't cause racial tension. That wouldn't cause racial tension. But assigning, giving the rights to citizens to defend themselves will cause racial tension.
No, that is
you see the level of hypocrisy there? See the level of hypocrisy there?
And not only that, not only him alone. I hear the Minister of Education is supporting this notion that it is going
to they all remember they harbored criminals in the community. Yes. Those are the people that harbor the criminals. They utilize the criminals. They allocate contracts to the criminals. They maintain this culture. Now, and then I expressed on an article of 3 students feeling like they're in jail. We didn't get started yet, but they're feeling like in jail. The Prime Minister is making an effort to protect the children. Everybody. She's obligated to everybody in the country. So she has to make decisions that are all inclusive, that protects the citizenry. And students in the school all has to feel protected. Teachers cannot feel threatened. You can want to conduct yourself like a hooligan and beat up people and brutalize them. And this government went in office for that mandate to deal with this situation.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, many times I've brought to these things to Mrs. Visesa attention about students being beaten up, sending her the pictures, trying to raise the issue with her. So, I mean, she has a heart. You just had a Prime Minister who didn't have a heart for you. Maybe he looked like you, but he didn't have a heart for you. So don't bring this racial nonsense. No, at all, because we don't want to hear that. The majority of the country, all different races, came together and made a decision and give this government a mandate, and race had nothing to do with it.
Well, this endorsement by the former Minister of Education, it shows the line of thinking of the PNM.
Exactly. They have utilized race to run for elections. They have control, to take control.
No consideration for the law-abiding citizens, but all the sympathies for the gang members, the people who are committing all these home invasion and massive robberies and what have you. Or we should be sympathetic to them, or it's going to cause racial division, or where were these guys all the time when law-abiding citizens were brutalized in their own homes?
Oh, this man had the nerve to say, people go feel like they walk around and police places where they don't have the authority to. This is about talking about defending yourself within your home and your business and yourself. This is not talking about empowering you to police. The police will do the policing.
And I don't know if you hear the clarity, this government he's talking about the wholesale importation of the Florida law. What the heck is that? It resembles in certain aspects the Florida law, which is good in certain aspects, but tailor-made for the Trinidad environment. And they explained it yesterday that they're going to bring clarity to everything.
The gentleman in Florida approached the kid where he was in a compound that he had the right to be. The kid did not do anything in particular in this instance here.
Yes.
Approached the kid. I mean, he kind of stalked the kid and basically I mean, young people, they have a chip on the shoulder and they reacted normally how a young person would do. The kid did not do anything to cause him to engage the kid. If the kid was doing something else, it would have no. The thing got hot between he and the kid. The fight break out. He shoot the kid, right?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
in self defense. You couldn't even handle the kid. Now there's a lot of shooting in this country, and even in Trinidad too, where the shooting wasn't necessary. The police have done a lot of things. The police have shot people sleeping in their bed. That is unwarranted. You know. So we do have situations here in the United States where there are racial justification for some people engaging some people. Some people have engaged people just because they have the wrong complexion,
Yeah.
and that happens, in some parts of the United States. But this is not the standing ground we're talking about. It is not in support of that because this thing was multiracially supported. In fact, it was more Afro-Chinese that came on board to endorse the prime minister in getting government. Okay, and they came out in large numbers and very strong. And even though they were persecuted by other Afro-Chinese
Mhm.
for what they're doing, or you're supporting that Hindu party, or supporting the Indian party, and then this and that could happen, and that could happen. And they say Kamala was going to take away gate in the first instance, and she did more for the country. Where their mouth gone?
But you
Huh? Where their
see,
mouth gone?
when they have been proven wrong, you don't hear nothing from them. Again, comes back to what I was saying, where all the pollsters, which or that has been proven wrong for this election, not a word from them. Don't ever hear them again on any sort of pollster.
Man,
They have all lost credibility. These inactor guys, Mr. Bishram, he's trying to, you know,
he's a to, he tried to play more important than he really is. Let me
correct.
tell you something.
Right.
Iowa George came on board to support Mrs. DeSisa, right? The
Yes,
trade you the what do you call it, the
trade union
PSA
movement.
came on board, right? The trade union came on board, and they all realized that this prime minister, in her capacity, has love for people and her mission and her objective. Roger Alexander said it clearly.
Yeah,
I have looked at different leaders and I've chosen the one that aligned with my values. That's the man
correct.
word. That's his justification for coming on board with the UNC. He left his job to come and fight for country alongside a leader that he feels her values align with his in securing the country.
So this
We are
criminal,
talking about a government for all the people,
so this
a
criminal,
government for all the people,
yes,
education for all the people, services for all the people. This is a government about all the people.
yes. Well,
Dr. Mara, jump in whenever you're ready. Eh?
Okay. Go on, submit. Oh, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead. I'll
yeah,
jump in in a
no,
minute.
Dr. Mara's, Dr. Mara's point is, and has always been like this: is either you in support of the criminals
Yeah.
or
Make it.
you're in
Yeah.
support of the law-abiding citizens. You can't be
Make
halfway,
make make your
midway,
pick.
and all this kind of. Make a choice.
Right.
Take a
And you
stand.
see, right. So you see, if you frame the debate and the narrative would be, it is really about the criminal element being challenged by the present government, and those who sympathizing with the criminal element will definitely respond the way some of these people are responding. So my good friend Darius, I know him because I worked with him previously. Is more along the line of a Marxist kind of a fellow. So he'll be bringing all kinds of capitalist orientation to show you how they are wrong. And he don't know where to get his idea from, but they have no idea what happened in Florida. So go down to Florida to find out what is happening or talking about Florida. You have no damn clue about what's going on there. The
Well, he said
prime
he has
minister,
he said
the
he has
prime
a brother
minister
lives there.
made, the prime minister just made a reference about Florida law. And our law will never, never be like the Florida law. So don't ever try that. We know what they're trying. We know what they're trying to do. We know the destruction that's trying to take place. They're trying to frame a racial thing
Correct.
because let's face it, the majority of criminals that they have found out and suspect so far belong to a particular sociological group in Trinidad. So if the victims are different kind, they're trying to muster a relationship with an element so that the racial element will cloud the true meaning of what the prime minister wanted to do.
Correct.
So if they could coach it in that way, they would have an upper hand on the government and this because they're trying to get back into power and they're going to try many, many tactics. This is only one, but there are many more to come. I'll talk about some of them some other time. But let me continue with this issue. So let me just go back a little bit and maybe Kamala and them should also think along this line because before before they took away the guns, so many rural people, many my uncle had gun. My father never had guns, but my uncle had gun. And and so is my father-in-law. They had guns, and the government in the 1960s asked them to bring the guns in and bring the ammunition. I used to collect a lot of ammunition from the country areas in those days, bringing back the firearm. Why were they bringing it back? Because they were scared that here's a number of people who have guns in their hands, and maybe they don't have any more lands to support the guns. Let's pull the guns in, and then we have a firearm user license and reallocate. So what did they pull all the guns in? There was in about the 1960s. My cousin was driving this car, and somebody drove by and drove him. And guys, this road rage began happening down in Princestown. And they drove all the way down to Lengua, where my uncle was living, and he saw him. He tried to pull into his own gap, but they confronted him and tried to corner him with hammer, whatever they had in their hand, because they're trying to knock the glass. My uncle went in the back, pulled his gun out, and started shooting. Or he didn't shoot anybody, but he started shooting in the air. That they hear gunfire and every man take off. So the mere presence of had a firearm, nobody's saying at the prime, nobody says. That is why the exact Florida example is a bad example in terms of how Darius and other people like him are framing it. The government is not saying, this is the Wild West where you put your guns and walk down the street and go everywhere. I am sure the intention would be keep your gun locked up in your house. You could have certain people walking with they would have criteria how to do that. But keep your gun locked up in a house, and when somebody invade your property, you know what to do. This
Doc,
is
it cannot.
really
Listen to me. It cannot be so anymore. It cannot be where you keep your gun locked up in the house because I'll tell you, you're getting
no. But you have to
ambushed
keep
in.
it. You have to keep it. I don't think they want them to walk down. Everyone walk down with a gun in the house. A firearm license might have some
No,
kind
no,
of
no,
restrictions.
no,
I don't think it's
no.
just walk with
It
it
can't
anyway.
be no. It can't be no long. It can no longer be so. That's old time thing.
Well,
Now what?
I would
I'm
like to
building
see
you.
how they bring it out, but it cannot be the Wild West either.
No, no, it can't be. It's not gonna. Can't be the wireless. First of all, you have to put some education and instruction. But you can't restrict people to lock up the gun in the house where you come in out the car and going into your house and you get ambushed in between. You know what I
As,
mean? So
as soon
Well,
this
as
right,
the
you,
but it
thing
has to.
about it is
Yeah,
you are
what I mean is,
having
it
you're
has
supposed
to.
to have the right
Maybe
to
they might
carry
have.
it.
Right. Okay. Maybe they have a right for certain people, but I'm sure they have some variation in that they will have. So that's working out the
You don't know
mechanics.
what
But
criminal gonna have. In fact, we have an issue where police can't carry gun. We need that to be corrected too.
all those kinds of simple low hanging, as Samantha said, the low hanging fruits. Let's deal with all the whole low hanging fruits. So why take away the
We
guns
had
from these
police,
people and
before you go on, we had police having trouble to get a personal firearm. And they were had them in the waiting and you lodge
right,
your
right. So
police
what I want
contract
to say, the
and
law
you
will take
can't protect it. We had
the
a
new
police
law will take
woman get shut up.
right. The new
She
law will
lucky she
take care of that.
survived over on her way
So
from the airport.
So we I don't think they want a Wild West out there, and that wouldn't be the case. And therefore, so we having a responsible way, people responsible for having a gun, a responsible way with all the training necessary, so they can safeguard their weapon from not only children but intruders and everything everywhere. So
correct.
that issue they will work. That don't need they no cheating issues. So this is not about arming the people and therefore the ones that are going to attack the other people of a certain sociological order and the one who have to defend themselves as a sociological. They could say that how they want, but this is not the intent. Is if you're a criminal and come to my house, you invade my property, I will know
Correct.
what to do. No
Let me
matter
have
whether you're brown, I wouldn't may not even be brown, white, blue, or yellow. It doesn't matter. You walk
correct.
into my place,
That's
you're
it.
entitled. I entitled to do what I have to do. So
That's,
that is the point. So don't tell me all they could say. Well, most of the people who commit the crime are of a certain ethnic group, and those who are to defend themselves, they could frame that, but that's not a racist thing. That's a let it play out as it normally
reality.
will.
That's
And
the
so
reality.
but
That's
let
it.
the government. So the
But
opposition are trying to code that in
that,
racial language
yeah,
so
but
they could
they want to
bring. Hold
focus
on,
on
hold on,
that.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We will talk for how long I done just now. They- You have to. The government will have to lay out the cause, and the opposition is trying to already couch it in such a way so that they could not. You could not do what you have to do because they want to cloud up the issue so they defend their own people because it's their own people they're trying to say our people, which is we know what they mean. So we don't want to get into that. We'll have a debate. Are you for the criminals or are you for
The law
the
abiding.
victim, law-abiding victims? And and Prime Minister couched it well, describing some of the issues. I have a relative in Trinidad who went through a terrible time. I wrote that is when I wrote the article, and it appeared. It didn't wasn't appearing on the Trinidad Guardian, but it appeared in the UNC paper, the checklist. I describe a scenario that happened without calling names, and that was a terrible thing because my grandmother, who came from India, gave my mother a bracelet, very expensive, 20, whatever, 20 something carat, that will be with.
Hmm.
And we had it in the family for like over 100 years
Hmm.
until 2023. A bandit came into our house who held up my sister and her daughter and her granddaughter and demanded the gold. And since they couldn't open the safe, they took up the whole safe and went away with it. Six of them armed with all of them. I think how many of them, maybe three or four of them had weapons. I don't know how many of them had guns drawn. Um, so think about us having saved. What was the purpose of me saving money and trying to build this and build that? And some overnight, someone took it away from me, came to my house. And when they couldn't, what they took away, they couldn't fit in their own car. They take the family car and drove away with it as well. So they stole the car at the same time. This is brazen daylight robbery to the highest order and with aggravation, with criminal intent. They were all beat up and swollen up for weeks, and then the face couldn't go down. I mean, this is horrible. This is terrible. So what I'm saying is, we need. I don't. I would. I'm telling them as soon as they get an opportunity to have a firearm, please do so. Just the mere presence of a firearm in your house might keep you bring some confidence. Because I brought my uncle's situation, and they would have beat up my cousin like crazy in front of the house because they had hammer, whatever, they're trying to knock the glass to break it. And when he gunshot, let it go, bow, bow. Every man take off and jump in the car and they ran away. No one got shot, luckily. Oh, maybe it should have been, but no one got shot, but they ran away. So the mere presence of the firearm, every government, every opposition support this bill. They could work through some of the hard things about some of the things we discussed, and we're having a hard time how to deal with that. That will work through, and it will work itself out. But they have to lend some kind of moral support to such a bill so that people can feel to defend themselves. My example, and there are many more examples in family that had to do with some kind of justification for drawing the firearm. And some issues happen where they shoot bandits and kill bandits and beat bandits and all of that. And all the situations are pretty are positive in terms of, but the opposition has to support this bill. This crap they're talking about. Well, just one more thing. One of them said, I mean, we know what they're saying because they're saying there's the stand your ground law is already covered by the common law, the Trinidad common law, which is coming from the British. So if that was, if a lot of things come by the common law, why you all every week you all start some kind of law about some kind of nonsense? So why
There,
didn't allow the common law to take control that time? No, you know what common law now, when you hear it is people who you're sympathizing with, it now be in danger, you want common law to take over and you want to rule all the days to pass with law every week that Southern, the guy from South that lost the election for Sanford on the West. Every week they bring some kind of legislation about there's some kind of nonsensical. You cannot even um, apply the current laws that you have and keep people safe, but you want to bring new laws every day for all kind of craziness. Let's show them you're doing something. Don't show them you're doing something. Do something, and you're doing nothing. So we know that is why they were replaced and they're trying to come back. And some people, like my good friend I mentioned, they're trying to deport some of the French Creole, a few of them trying to keep that past, bring them back past government because they have a field day when they are in power. This new government is very strict and no nonsense government. They stand a hard chance of making the profit. You see what they don't want. The central bank doesn't want to release the names. We know why. We know the issues, what they're covering up. That will come to light no matter what. That and no, maybe not now, maybe next week, maybe as soon as possible. So I have a few things more to say, but I want to stop here and leave that issue of the gun. We have to be in full support of some kind of a firearm user license given out to people in a more popular way so that people can defend themselves. Yes, the government, the police might be able to, but in many instances they can't. In due time, the police might be more equipped. Maybe you wouldn't need so much for a user license anymore. The police doing a better job. And they do. Right now, the police need a lot of help. And one way to help them is let people arm themselves to protect themselves in their own house, not in the street. I don't know Gary's thinking that she will be able to walk around with a firearm. I'm a little skeptical about
No,
that.
no, 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 no. Listen to me, because you living in
Mhm,
your mind in a different time. We living in a different time right now in Trinidad, and even
mhm.
here in New Jersey, we have been granted the right to carry. No, you
Right.
granted the right to carry is to defend yourself, right?
Yes.
And there's a training
Yes.
class, and you have to go to the range, and you have to understand self-defense, and you have to
Mhm,
understand you can't fire the bullet helter skelter, but you have to be a conscious. You have
mhm.
to train your mind to be conscious of what's in your surrounding.
Right.
These are the kind of training that you have to get.
Right.
What I'm
So
saying to you is
right.
that doc,
So-
you could get attacked in coming to your house. A lot of people get as they open the gate and they go out inside the house, the criminal run up to them. Sometimes they're waiting inside the yard for you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
they're not
yeah.
even only just robbing business people, and it's five, six of them. Sometimes it's
Right.
11 of them.
Right. So whatever the government comes up with, I will support. I don't know if all these issues they might
But
deal with
what I'm
that. And if
saying,
they
you
say
have to
if they take that
understand.
side, I say yes. I agree with whatever they do.
You have to understand the nature of the circumstances before you understand you make a decision. We are dealing with a
Oh,
situation here when any spur of a second, you
yeah.
in transit, you can get robbed. You're going down the road and they throw something in your car and you say, but wait, where's this? And they just stop for a second to check it out. Or they pass and they bumper you, hit you from behind, like my friend Stark.
Mm.
African guy, gone to buy a car, take a partner with him, they bump him from behind and come and take the money. Right? So this is not about African and Indian. This is about Trinidadians who are getting robbed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And beaten and brutalized. There are many Afro Trinis who are the same thing is happening. So the crime is not about Indian and African. Some people trying to spin that into that
Correct.
context,
Correct.
for political reason. And in the
Right.
meantime, who runs away with the bulk of the treasury? The 1%, right? The people that that they're in power in. Right? How many did they really take care of Afro Chinese in the country? You know how many Afro Chinese have been living in dilapidated conditions, right? The same ones in their constituency. In fact, the PNM constituency are the worst, are the worst taken care of. Then running to pave here and patch up here as election coming, and they take out and Stuart Young himself was trying to spin race at one point and trying to say the UNCs, they're always trying to push the UNCs anti-Indian. When Kamala tried to deal in the 2010-2015 period, I think it's around 2011 or 2012, when they called the state of emergency because they were threatening the prime minister because, I mean, she ruffled some feathers now. The government dealing with the criminal element. So they tried to spin race. In fact, the Afro Trinis up in Brooklyn here, right, who's part of the Black Democratic caucus over here in New York, right, is what kind of supported and encouraged that nonsense, bringing this race thing in Trinidad and Tobago. And then they come and tell Patterson over here for the last election, if you look at the 2015 election, that Kamala is a racist government and she's discriminating and people. And he going to preach he want equality in the country, not knowing the fact is the PNM who had the history of discrimination, right?
Well, that is why I'm telling you, you have
Throwing
to
people
win
a
this
few little
battle.
crumbs and discriminating against most of them.
Right. So you have to win this battle because that would be their line of thinking. They want to pull their people back, and they will. That's what they did. They did it
Yeah,
previously,
it digging them, it digging them.
and
But they
and
show
it's going
them,
to
they said
they're
they're
going
not
to
going back. They said they're not going
right.
back.
But they could try to pull them back. That is going to happen.
Because
So you
they're going to come with some justification
right.
that we are being
So,
racial
so
and the prime minister, this
that's
kind
why
of
we have in
nonsense.
this debate. One of the issue would be that because of the firearm users license, they will try to use that to drive a wedge between the unity that is happening. And that's one way of doing it. The other way they're going to come to it, and we'll talk about it another night. Like tonight, we're talking about the FUL mostly. So Gary, I would say to you this. I understand what you're saying. I'm yourself and walk the street to the best you can to see protect yourself and property, but you will have a problem. But I tell my users while you have to be careful with this. Everybody walking the streets. Hopefully, not everybody, but I have a little problem. But what I'm saying
Listen,
really is that
we have
I have a
people in the
problem
states here.
I have a problem with everybody walking the street with a firearm. But whatever the government decide on that, I will go along. But I have a
But
problem with it.
it happens in Florida. You
Oh,
all
yeah.
from the time you cross New Jersey and started going to Pennsylvania, southbound, right? People are walking with guns. In fact, I spent some time in Louisiana, and every
Oh, yeah.
lady had in their pocketbook a revolver or some type of gun
Yes,
in there,
yes, yes, yes.
right? And there was no Wild West situation. So wait a minute. Well, let me ask a question, doctor. With all the criminals running around with guns freely, we don't have a Wild West situation right now. What we have, a Beirut situation or Afghanistan situation?
They're supposed to be arrested.
Supposed to be. But I'm telling you
Yes.
right now, we have a situation in the country where criminals are running around the country heavily armed. In fact, they're going on Facebook and posing with it. They're threatening police. They get so brave. When you and I was growing up in Trinidad, in fact, you're a little bit older than me, but when I was growing up in Trinidad, we afraid the police with just the uniform. They didn't have to show me nothing else. All right, these bastards here pulling gun in front of the police. Okay, so this is what we dealing with. They don't afraid police. They should. In fact, they have better gun than the police. And we have police who get in trouble. In fact, there was a battle during Gary Griffith to grant his 10 years as police commissioner to grant firearm license to police and fire officers and those in law enforcement to carry their gun. They're making you lodge your service weapon in the station, and then you walk out. So nobody ever remember you that they had an incident with you. And what is your protection this time? What is your protection for your family? Right? In this day and age, with the nature of criminals in the country, keep in mind they have heavy automatic weapons that can cross the border anytime in a little pirogue. They're talking about the scanner in the port there. That's bullshit. Because anything could come across the border within minutes. All right? The border was wide open under Dr. Rowley. All right? So I know we're making some attempts now. I don't
Right.
know how much we get done so far yet.
So while you're making a recommendation about the FUL and the verifications and the configurations, I would like you to consider the fact, and they would know this also, that we in the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean, are more so along the British and the European line rather than the American line of the way they're doing it. So their whole environment and historical underpinnings of British and Commonwealth and that relationship is more along those lines. The parliamentary system maybe would not allow for what is going on in Florida. But I understand what you're saying. We in America are
Doc,
different,
doc, doc.
but
But
we
we're
had to
adopting everything
understand the
American.
whole historical underpinning.
We adopting everything American, right? In fact, Trinidadians are more American than some of us up here.
That's
Okay,
right, but that is why it can't happen.
so
They
they
have to be
want to
careful because
conveniently
the other
adopt.
side. What I'm saying, the other side will win you all. If you don't couch this debate properly, they're going to win. They're going to win the popular
Listen, we
vote
have
on
lawyers
this
brighter
issue.
than me down there. The lawyers are brighter than me. But what I'm saying, the point I'm making to here,
This
you
is
have to
not
watch the
this is not the
hypocrisy.
lawyer. This is not lawyers anymore. Lawyers behind out of the scene completely. This is a debate about civil society.
Yeah, but I understand the lawyers is going to be in the parliament, not me. But I'm just saying the point
Yeah, but
is here.
we'll fix it. We'll tell them what to do because they know nothing about these things. These things, but
The
we are the
hypocrisy,
yeah
the hypocrisy involved here with the fact,
yeah
taking into consideration the nature of the situation in the country. that has been happening, and it had improved under Mrs. Bisesa within the first 5 years, right? And then things started to go downhill as Dr. Rowley took over into government, right? Because the criminals feel their wings are released now. Now, but the point I want to make to you is that when we had called the state of emergency and they started to arrest people who suspected of gangs, they say it's a racist thing.
Yes.
All right. Now you know the fact you was in the police force. The majority of the police in the police force is what race.
Yeah, we know.
After after Pandey came in, then we get a little more Indians inside it. The
Yeah.
military is what race,
Yeah.
right? But they push the narrative that the Indian government taking advantage of black
Yes.
boys, right?
Yes. Yes. I was there.
That is the
I remember that.
narrative
I
they
mean, I was
push.
there in terms of that debate. I know what that debate. It was not a debate.
Okay,
There's just
not
one side saying the other stupid thing, and the other side
no,
didn't
not to the
answer them
fact
well.
that people
Even
within
still didn't answer
Lavantil
them well.
itself not
Yeah.
taking the consideration, and they didn't want to hear about this. The people in Lavatil itself, I see it in the paper, they were saying, "Oh, I could finally sleep well at night because the police and army was patrolling, and they were putting some restraint on the criminals."
Yeah.
Now, somehow they fail to prove their case in court, and that is the police fault of the people that they arrested to be of gang involvement, right? And those guys went out getting enriched because the police failed to make the case, and maybe it could have been something of deliberate actions, because we have situations where evidence gets destroyed in the evidence from the evidence of the police in the evidence room, right? So you deal with a situation where people get threatened and case don't make in court, right? So I mean, the police need some training on that part of things. They need a little more education and training on collecting evidence, and we have work to do, right? We have a lot of work to do. But making the case, a lot of them couldn't make the case. But the fact is, what we was able to accomplish if we put a restraint on the activity of the criminal element, right? And that is what was accomplished. But some people they didn't want to acknowledge that. All them could have see was race, because the campaign on race. All them care to see is the Afro Trini in charge. No matter what wrong he doing, he okay. They okay with that, right? I don't. I
And you
am not
see,
supporting somebody. I am not going to support an Indian if he doing nonsense. Number one, okay. And we should not support people by race.
right.
And
Uh,
we
that,
can't get
that,
along with
and,
people because they're the same race with we.
right.
You think I could
And
get
that is
along with every
that,
Indian?
and that is where you are. You see, but the other side is looking at it differently. There are two ways. Again, tonight there are going to be, and as always, we have to couch this conversation on two sides. There is the other side that will tell you that look, you see, look what they're doing about the school system. The prime minister says that these people should be arrested. This so-called bad behavior in school should meet the full extent of the law. The other side is saying, no, don't treat children that way. That's the wrong way to go. So you have to answer them back because they're going to give you another side to
So
it
the
and
prime
be
minister is
careful.
trying to share a message. It is a crime, number one, and they have to understand that we are not going to tolerate it. Now they will be extracted from the school, and they will be put into a system where they can be educated, because the minister of defense said we are not neglecting these children or releasing them to the gangs and criminal gangs because they can't go to school, because they want to insinuate that we go cause the children to go astray. And some people, the children already astray. These children should not be acting the way they is in the first place, but they get involved in the wrong culture. You understand? They get involved in a gang culture. And that is what I mean. Back in the day when everybody was going to church, you had your best village program, and the children was more structured into do something. Either playing music or they doing some kind of art. Performance and something like that. The thing was more culture. They didn't have too much criminals, but when they knocked down the best village program and all this community program, the community centers, they grossly neglected. I've visit some of these community centers like a sewer. You understand? So we are revamping these things as we speak. Our people are on the ground, on the move.
So, and then you will notice that they're trying to strike down what you're doing. but they don't have a solution. If you notice how they're handling this, they're trying to take you down, but they don't have an alternative. So you have to hammer them on the alternative. This is not talking back, it's not enough to do it. Because we are in this for 15 years, and we have to take front before front take you. You see that argument they're making about, as they made in 2010, where the Indian government is arresting the poor African little boys. That is advantage of taking of them because they had to call an emergency, and that's what they call it for. You have to answer them back. And so what is the alternative? The alternative is to do nothing. And that is what they're winning by doing nothing. They also, the political capital for them is the divide and rule, divide along all lines, including racial lines, of course, and even rich poor people, 1% and 90, that sort of thing. Their motive is to, whereas the opposition, your group, which is your UNC, is united. We stand, and divided we fall. We are all one people. We do want the best. And Gary said this many, many times, that we're all doing the best for our country, irrespective of what racial background, what a social background, religious, and what have you. So anytime they come back with that same very old thing, you have to corner them and say, well, what's the alternative? And you have to do this much through the press and through the papers, and even program like this that you're having here. It hopefully could get broadcast outside of what we are saying here. The way we are thinking and the way we're trying to do it here is, look, our people is a Big Ten people. We belong to a Big Ten. Everybody welcome, and that is why everybody will win and continue to win. As long as we're in government, everybody's going to win. When you throw us out, everybody's going to lose because those fellas can't do anything. They're proven to you they can't do nothing. They have no alternative. Therefore, forget them and let's continue. Leave this government and continue what we're doing. And we have
Correct.
to make that
Correct.
argument.
Doubles and coffee. Quick update. I'm getting.
Dr. Maharaj, you're quite right, because all these years, it's you can see the statistics of, let's say, the majority of the people in
Trinidad and Tobago,
Listen to this.
central to any policy planning, there must be a framework, and a framework that makes sense. So when you're talking about sport and youth affairs, youth empowerment, youth development, when you're talking about that, you have to make sure that you have the linkages. You have to make sure that you have those gaps filled. Okay, we all want and we know the interests of our citizenry of developing the youth through sport. Why? It mitigates against rising crime, low unemployment. It gives you a certain discipline structure, all of that to be model citizens. Yeah, but how do we establish those linkages? The first thing we must have is bring it down to the schools. In our policy vision, you'll see that we have a central part to play with the schools and with community. So first and foremost, you must have fields within the community that make sense. We like to talk about, we have a lot of stadia, but mostly that is for the high end, the high performance athletes, national programs, and that is good. Most of them built and maintained, lights put up by the UNC. Okay, now we're in a position now to really try and link, synergize youth and sport. So I'll give you an example. This behind me here is an example of what a community field in Trinidad and Tobago will mostly look like. Look at that. And people say, well, we are ahead. In every community we have lights and we have a field, but look at this field. What football, what technical level we can expect of our young players to get up from this field? All they could get here is hard tackle, ball bouncing up, and don't tell me we produce players from fields like this. We have. That is not because of fields like this, it's in spite of fields like this. So the vision must be to have fields across the communities where schools have access to those fields in order to increase the technical and participatory level in all communities with all schools. And I'm not talking only about football. Look at TAP. We're talking about all sports, because this field here For example, if it was well maintained, we have cricket, we have football, we can have hockey. So the idea is to have fields according to the Belgian model or any first world country that advance their youth through sport is to make these all-weather fields. Now we train this out in light of what is our framework to make sure that we have a policy vision with continuity. Because what we could do is come and fool people like Shamfa Kajo and have one set of events, put one set of names on it, have it in Skinner Park, which is not a good field by the way, or have it in somewhere, some other field, in some stadium, at Tobolan, or wherever, and it's just an event. Everybody go home after, everybody feeling good, but there's no continuity. We intend to change that. The Minister of Sport is hands-on looking at all the facilities across the country, and we intend to bring it home in these years under Kamala Prasad Bisesa to really have a policy vision and policy implementation that gives us the guarantee and the assurance that for generations to come, our youth will be well served. Trinidad and Tobago, the General, loving the house all the time.
Yes,
Dr. Maharaj
guys.
dropped out a little bit.
Dr. Maharaj, is he off?
He looked like he dropped out for a minute, yeah. So anyway.
Okay,
so
well, I wanted to clarify the point with him that the FUL licensure is not finalized at it. It's, an idea that has to be drafted, that has to be debated, and then and only then you can flesh out what is the best scenario to implement now. The case of common law. Is the old British law. And what the present government is saying is that there are some shortfalls in it. So they intend to address those shortfalls. And that's why you hear the Prime Minister saying clarity. I don't know if you heard that, Gary. She wants to make this as clear as possible so that there is no confusion in interpreting the law. Even Saddam Hussein mentioned the same thing, that they intend to bring clarity, take it a step further than the regular common law.
The law, how it's structured right now, is you getting arrested for defending yourself in your own home. In the meantime, these people are making a big stink about you getting a legal firearm. But in the meantime, I'm going to say it again and again, we have criminals roaming the country, heavily armed, with unlimited access, and that don't threaten them. And that, to me, is very disturbing. And as Dr. Myers said, choose a side, and this is where it comes to choose a side, where you at, right? But until the day you face the consequences, and this has nothing to do with race, because every race and creed in the country has experienced this kind of tragedy and trauma where they have been ambushed by criminals, right? Ambushed by criminals. It's not only Indian people getting ambushed. I mean, we might be the majority getting ambushed, but it's not only Indian getting ambushed, because we're all race and creed in the country are so sick and tired of they can't operate the simplest business. They get ambushed, brutalized, blackmailed, extorted, you name it. All right. How many missing people have we seen over the years in the country?
Yes.
Right.
So the case with common law, the common law is that take it a step further and don't.
And I'm lacking common sense, Mr. Singh. They're lacking common sense. That is what they're lacking.
They're twisting it. This is being twisted to suit their their agenda. That's why the PNM is saying that. That's why this criminologist Figueroa is saying the same thing. They want to make mileage of this and divide the population views on it.
I dealt with him on another talk show, and he's a racist, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
All right. And he was quick to jump race. using one instance, not
Yes.
taking into consideration what has been happening in Trinidad and Tobago. He
Well,
just wants he you see when you're blinded with a situation,
yes. Correct.
that your mind is blind, you're not seeing anything else. So I mean, in this aspect, you know what I mean. So he's
Yeah.
already entrenched in his thoughts, and you can't change his mind. And they have
Well,
a lot of them like that.
I read the article he quoted in 2012, the black guy in Florida here.
Yeah, I mean, with
This
Trayvon
is,
Martin and Zimmerman there, that was an
yes,
on-call for situation. We all saw that, right? But that
this
has
is
nothing to do with standing your ground. In
correct.
fact, Zimmerman wasn't really standing his ground. He picked an
No,
unnecessary fight with the kid.
yes, correct. So
Okay,
that,
so that was
uh,
nothing to do with standing ground there.
so they're twisting this all around, all around. But once there's clarity, the whole common law states that you can only shoot the guy in the foot. Uh, Equivalent, according to the crime, use the appropriate response. Heck, man, somebody invading your
Yeah,
home.
yeah. You
Well,
be
I
in this.
can't think,
Put
I
yourself in
had
this
to aim at his
situation.
foot. I had to aim at his foot, and he's hiding behind the chair.
Or you dancing around. What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are we going to do? Wait for him to shoot you?
Like the reference was Joe. If he happened to turn you back at the same time while in the fight with
Bus
you,
bullet, bus
yeah,
bullet, anywhere
they want to charge you that the man was retreating. He wasn't retreating. He just happened to turn at the same time. He got shot. By the time you
appro-
fired the gun, he happened to turn.
the city code dies with the common law force short.
But
Appropriate force. So that this appropriate force ain't going to work this time. It's stand their ground. You
hello,
know,
somebody enters your property in a
right away.
hostile manner. They didn't come knocking by the door. Neighbor are hungry and I want something to eat. We, everybody know we just treat people good. You come and
Yeah,
you're begging for something to eat, we give you something. That's something we Chinese don't play with.
right.
You
And
know,
I don't know if you know the U.S. Constitution, but the right to bear arms is a
Second Amendment.
constitution.
That's the Second
It's
Amendment.
Second Amendment,
Yeah,
right?
but about the right to defend yourself. And also, listen, the British law, things when we was growing up, like I showed you reference to Dr. March, it was a different circumstances.
Yes,
You
correct.
didn't police, not even police needed to walk with gun at them days, right?
No, there's a
With
go with a bicycle and baton.
yeah.
And
In
when you
fact,
see
I
them,
never used to see police that much with guns in the 70s and
uh,
then
when
once
you
in a
see
while.
when you see them in the bike, you kind of go and hide in somewhere where they can't see you.
Yeah.
That was the respect you had for policemen at that time. But
Not this generation.
no, you got to deal with the situation as is, man. De facto, the fact is that you want to give law-abiding citizens the right to bear arms. Now remember, they're taking it all out of context. They say, oh, well, everybody going to have it. No, the Prime Minister said only who applies for the guns, who have met the required, the scene, the scenario to get a gun, do the means test and see you are capable of holding a firearm. You have the appropriate
It takes
training,
training. It takes training and getting
the
used to like
education,
everything else, right?
the education and the training component, the psychological component as well, that you have to be
Right.
of sound mind, to bear a firearm.
But he's drafting the scenario that we're going to walk the street and tell the police the street.
Correct. A wild west scenario where everybody has a gun.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't want the gun, you don't apply for it.
Yeah,
Simple.
but he not threatened. He not threatened that what happening in the country right now where they're shooting up the place with machine gun, that don't bother he.
No. It's a all racist agenda. You have to understand it's a racist agenda all along. And the former Minister of Education, by taking that side, she shows her colors. So what if is a particular social group is being affected? So what? Who says you should, what gives you the right to continue doing the crimes? How are you going to solve the problem? Where the church leaders, this is what they say, I always say, where the religious groups? Where the parents? Where civil society? And the community groups as well. Where are they? But these are the people you'll hear them, you'll hear, wait till you see this legislation starts get a good framework and get debated, then you'll hear them coming out the woodwork like Bachak and then starting to comment. But all the time when law-abiding citizens are bearing the brunt of all these home invasions, you ain't hearing nothing on
No,
that.
you don't hear one word. You don't
Yeah.
hear one word. You know what they think about, like I tell you, the PNM has a racial cabal within its system that
Always that.
is in line, which is called a black caucus, and they have and then they align themselves with, because a lot of them live in Brooklyn here, and
Mhm.
they are the ones that they're conferring, and pushing an agenda, and this black man and black man and black man. We all Trinidadians, all right. This government is focused on Trinidadians and not on race. We are focused on making what's best for our country and all our people. Okay, so the PNM try to dominate that. I mean, I have we had a situation in Laventille West where the sewer water was going and coming out inside the people's kitchen. Sewer water, nasty smelling sewer water, and I used to get videos and pictures of it, and they had them people suffering. Let me tell you something. That's a very unhealthy condition to live in. Okay, and this
Because
coming out, this nasty sewer water popping out the people's kitchen, and they muzzle them as much as they can. They bribe who they much as you can, and for years they had these people suffering like this. Just have they're feeding them some crumbs and keeping a rope around their neck, and they don't seem to understand that, right? And look, Rodney still ran for Laventille West, right? He still ended up losing his seat in spite of all what these people went through, because they are so brainwashed into thinking race more than anything. If they can't vote outside of it, race and party. No, what happened also in Trinidad? What we own Indian people try to pull on Kamala. They try to pull religious thing too. The Mahasaba and this one and want
yeah,
to attack
yeah,
and threaten she and all this kind of thing. They wasn't thinking about the best interest of the country.
absolutely not.
They wasn't thinking about the best interest of the country.
Only
And who really
themselves.
who financially benefits the most? Who had really benefit the most? You might have gotten a few little crumbs, but who benefit the best and the most out of the wealth of the treasury? Was it African people? But you had the man say he's the blackest man. What that's supposed to prove, you being the blackest man? What does that do for anybody? We could have the brongest Indian there and he's not doing anything for us.
Correct.
All right. So Dr. Rowley pulled a cheap stunt. He pulled a very cheap stunt. Welcome Nadira, bra. Everyone is listening. We have, as citizens of the country, we have to put aside this damn nonsense and focus. When you go to the hospital, it doesn't matter what race you is. You get an accident on the road, it doesn't matter what race you is. You want good service. You go into the hospital in an emergency situation, doesn't matter what race, the doctor is there trying to
No,
attend to you.
at that time they don't look at the discrimination. They say, "Oh, but I don't want to see an Indian doctor because they're Indian." No,
No,
I
I
don't want
find
to
I
see an
find I find those who think so should go and open their own damn hospital.
Yeah, or when they get in an accident, wait till they have a doctor of their kind. Then let them see him. So bear the pain right through.
We
No,
okay. So we had a Indian health minister. Did he do anything to benefit Indian people in the country?
not
Or Indian
one.
and African was suffering alongside him. Three days waiting to be seen by a doctor. You're sitting in your own wheelchair. If you didn't have your own wheelchair, they take away the damn wheelchair.
Yeah, but they pulled that before with the teaching fraternity. They were saying the Indian teachers don't teach the African students. And that was all a pack of debunk. They debunk all that crap.
So
What
wait
was
a minute.
written.
So we didn't have African teachers in. I went to secondary school. There were African teachers.
Yeah, they said no. They were saying that the Indian teachers don't teach
Mm.
the African students. They're in the same class with the Indian students or the other.
In my experience, all of us are treated the same way.
I don't know how they could say, hey, you are
When the teacher come and rub off the board, all of we suffer the consequences because we didn't pick up quick enough.
Obviously. So that was just to be a hatred.
In fact, I had Indian teachers were very nasty to me. That Mr. Ramsarup, he was a very nasty guy. Towards me.
Yeah. So that was rubbish. That was something that the data doesn't bear that at all. That is observation. One or two people may have experienced those things and figure that is.
But if your mind is conditioned to think away, you will make race out of the simplest thing. If somebody happens to look in your direction in the wrong way, that could be a race thing. Yeah. That's how some people think. But you see the thing about it, they try to suffocate other people on thinking like them, and the people broke loose. They broke loose, and they realized to say, "Hell with this shit." We have a better leader there. We saw a person, a better prime minister. We had a better prime minister who cared about the country and put the best resources in place to help us build our lives. This is what we're going to choose this time around. And they came out in their numbers, and we have to keep things. And I mean, far as we see, they have hit the ground running in every aspect.
Despite the negative response to the press.
No, the PNM has made the job a lot more harder than it should have been by their gross negligence, by the destruction of the treasury,
and their refusal. Lies to the population all along.
Yeah, and I waiting for Faris to come in the Senate and talk his nonsense, and because I mean Khadija has the information, she has the proof. We have seen on every counselor page pictures and videos of the work being done, and you could see the extent that nothing was being done and maintained. All the local government restructuring and the this and the that they're doing, and they collect property tax. They have to show us what they did with that money, right? They have to show us what they did with that money.
That is what they can't do. That is what they so that it's just lies being perpetuated on the population. That they were doing this and that and that and that. Where even you see that in the last month before the election, where was that $1.5 billion used? That loan, about 4 or 5 loans they got, totaling up $1.5 billion. Where was that used? They cannot account for what or where that money was spent. So again, see if you by chance find out who spent that, how was it spent, to which areas and so on. When you show it was, north of the lighthouse, but not south of the lighthouse, then you're beginning to see.
And maybe some people pocket, I don't know, where beyond the lighthouse somewhere, we don't know, but wherever they're located, maybe in past the Swiss mountain somewhere there. The money might be there, but all this stunt that they pull and all this oppression of our people,
that is all part of the geographic discrimination.
The review is coming. The media review is coming, and the Prime Minister is trying to gather what information, and hopefully they get enough by that time.
At least the central bank information, I want that to start to come out because I know the Ministry of Finance is actively pursuing that. But as I said,
the Attorney General, I'm sure, is going to serve enough legal letters to deal with it. So let's see how the legal team handles that.
Yeah, because you can't have the same people doing that who are the same people trying to sabotage your progress. So let's see what comes out of that. And who countersigns that they should be the one held responsible. So if I'm your boss and I'm sanctioning what you're telling me without investigating, then I'm also culpable. So let's see how it is. So if, basically, if one person decides to lie and the rest of them sanctioning the lie, they all are responsible for the lie.
Well, we saw they were all scratching their back, right? And we saw that the justice system did nothing. We saw the DPP did nothing. We saw that the police did nothing in this aspect because I mean, so every man Jack will have to answer.
Correct. Up the
When
ladder.
certain
Remember, I always tell you there's a ladder.
right.
And they
So I
fall in that
mean,
ladder.
a lot of things happen in the country. The DPP took no action. um, so that will be have to look into. Police complaints authority, whatever complaint was made there, that will be the auditing will have to be done there also. A lot of auditing all over. I think we might spend a whole year auditing
Yeah, I remember I told you the first year or two is 6 months, 16 months to 2 years. You're just trying to clean
because
up as
you're
much.
gonna
You
get more
just
and more information all the time.
Yeah, you get more and more, and just trying to clean up mess that it because I would say again and again and again, the damn system is so broken. Every single ministry, every single corporation, every single initiative, there's nothing that works fluently as how it's written and supposed to work. Nothing in the island. You don't want to pay a water bill, you want to pay electricity bill. Everything is fraught with inconsistencies. Everything. So as you go forward and as more and more information is divulged, and and as you get more and more from your investigation, you get more information as well. Make sure, and I really want to see people being punished for their misgivings, man. Because if you do not do that, and I always say, myself included, then what is the purpose of going to vote? You have to punish people and make examples of them. Don't send over administrative leave and get a pay with leave. This crap, that ain't going to happen in these wrongs. Just no pay, and if found guilty, no pensions and gratuity as well. So there's nothing for you. And everybody's going to start to think straight from now on that, hey, I may have 25 years of service, I only have 5 more years again. Let me better don't try to do nothing wrong because all my years of hard work might go to the shoots. So you have to make examples out of these people. Let us start now. This is a good time. Start it now. To all those who have breached the laws, especially with public monies, and especially with public monies, those who say, "Oh, we the COE Commission of Inquiry, we hire a team of private investigators to deal with these issues," and then when they submit their reports, you cannot see the report. Well, whose money they took to fund these reports? Isn't it the people's money? So why shouldn't the people see the reports? When it's a personal stuff, it's a personal stuff. But once private monies are used, the public has a right to see the outcomes and what has transpired. So, anything else you have in mind?
that's pretty much it. I mean, that I can think of at this time. So tomorrow night,
Yes, yes.
we'll catch up,
Tomorrow.
and I'll get a chance to look. I didn't get a chance to look much at the newspaper today. I was out doing a lot of stuff.
Right.
Um,
And
I think that
again,
covers it pretty much.
as
Any
as we
any
go, as we go forward, you could get someone to link up from back home. Will always be a nice,
Yeah, I'm trying. Look, every day I ask, but the thing about it with these guys, they having meetings upon
busy,
meetings.
busy, correct, busy,
Yeah, and even though they may make a commitment, they get called out of the commitment because they
correct.
have to
I'm
go to
sure.
because they are working very hard, and I
Yes,
mean that is very understood. So they would eventually come here because they've been on this program many times, Saddam Hussein been here. I mean, Dr. Buddha been here. You know, quite a bit of the people. Senator Jayanti was here. You know, she had a lot of views. She had like about 15,000 views at the time she was here. You know,
She's good. She's good. She's very
yeah,
good.
so she had broken down the independent. I'm trying to get her back too. So it's a lot of I've been asking, you know, consistently. So let's see.
She will be one who can deal with this FUL as well, because I think she's was actively in.
But it's not rocket science, you know. It's the
Oh,
garbage they're trying to the spin and the doubt in people's minds to try to derail the government on this. Like I said, they seem to be comfortable with criminals heavily armed, even better armed than the police, shooting at the police themselves. Why do you think a lot of these young people are so unruly? And because they're in gangs and they could threaten the teacher. The teacher, we have teachers that are scared for their life going into the school
yeah, but
in there.
again,
So we need the police. We need the police in the school. We need that kind of structure. I don't care how much jail they feel in. They in right. This is to protect them. The prime minister is making an attempt to protect them and to protect them from themselves. Young people has to be restrained on some of their behaviors, and you know, because they would end up killing each other. And we have seen a lot of children badly damaged. We cannot sit by and allow that. You know,
correct,
that
correct.
is totally unacceptable. So they have to learn that there's going to be consequences when they behave like that. And cheering and supporting somebody getting beaten up, you will be considered aiding and abetting the fight.
That's
All right.
right. Yes,
Documentation is good because, in my perspective, because then you have evidence of what happened. So, but at the same time, while somebody documented, other people should try and break up the fight. You know, call for help, call the teachers if you can't think. But sometimes you get engaged in trying to break up a fight and you get damaged.
we get that much
So,
correct. Yes,
yeah, so the best thing is to do is to seek help. You know, don't
yes.
support it and encourage it. Somebody getting beaten up because the damages. You see, the thing about it, you have to start hitting some of these parents in medical costs for the damage to your child, and then they would learn to deal with their child too. You know, there has to be some kind of responsibility.
This is the thing, but they don't blame the parents and so on.
No, no, no. But if they start getting hit with medical costs, then
Yeah, they
then
don't
it will.
blame
Yeah.
they blame the school, they blame the teacher, they blame everybody else except themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of these children are acting out because of what's going on home too. You know, so
Yes,
you need the
that's
social
where it
worker,
starts.
and
That is where
then
it starts.
and these kids need to run around the savannah a little bit and load some of that steam. You know, because they're a little too
That,
stifled.
that
So
is
get them
why
running
this
around the
the
savannah, so
sport
they
the
don't have
sport
time
is
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
the sport.
sport initiative is so critical.
Yeah. So I
It's
mean,
part
you
of
get
the
them.
entire process of
Yeah, get involved in the school. And that field, Senator Narkis showed it. That is joke. We have fields that are overgrown. You know, I mean, that's field still cut. You know, we
yeah,
have a lot of fields that were overgrown and poor lighting and gross negligence. So,
yeah,
community centers that are more like was on the Labas. You know, so
that's it.
that is
That
what the PNM brought the country, and then people had the audacity to come and talk race. So, which
those
race the PNM was representing if they kept the place like that?
and
Anyway,
mostly
thank you.
in their constituencies. I wonder all these swimming
Especially,
pools. Well,
especially.
yeah, all these swimming pools. I think they're building all this
Worst condition. In
strongholds.
fact, I saw a picture of that swimming pool they built in Laventille.
They're building Maloney and
The
Sandu
county
East and all
swamp
of them.
became better than that swimming pool they built in Laventille there. You know? Yeah.
They touted, oh, we'll get the kids involved with this and get
You
them
can't
all.
worry people who have garbage in their mind, Mr. Singh. That's the thing about it. We have a lot of people in garbage in their mind and they're speaking at the loudest of their voice, and the rest of us cannot stay quiet. We have to rebut them, you know. And as they attack us, I say fire right back. Rapid fire.
Yeah, that
Don't
is
don't stay
why
quiet.
you need your independent press, you need your communications strategists to be out there hammering this thing all the time, because they, whatever it make progress as a government, remember you have the press can always downplay your achievements. And this is what
Well,
can be.
we know who the press is working for. It's the
Yeah, that's
obvious.
what I'm saying. So
Okay.
you need an independent press, you need a more, you know, much more press coverage.
Well, I'm seeking
Yeah.
volunteers. Anybody on the ground willing to volunteer for us as a news presenter? Anybody wants to volunteer? We are seeking. This is a good opportunity for young people to expand their skills. In commentating what's happening in their community. They have an option here to do that.
I also saw today in Facebook today that that other group in Trinidad, they're having one of our guys in the platform there, Wade Serum tomorrow on
Or,
Leisha Doris.
or they invited with?
I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So he and some other guys, some Abraham, two commentators on what is really wrong
She
with
sent,
them.
sent me something, but I didn't look at it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what's wrong with how we got into this scenario and this position and all this thing. More like a status report on where we are right now and how did we get there. But I mean that makes no sense. How we our status report and how we got there was proven in the election. You know, so is what you're going to do from this point on to get us out of this morass. This is what the discussion should really be like. How are we going to get out of this morass? We all know how we got there.
Oh, that's Mr. Ibrahim Ali.
Yeah,
And
Abraham Ali. Yeah, and
yeah, he's a JP, and he's a active. He was Saddam Hussein campaign.
okay.
Uh, yeah. So yeah. Okay.
No, let's see how it goes. I may tuck in,
All right,
view.
listen. The thing about it is, I told her and everybody else, the more we have people doing things, the better for me. And that's what I encourage.
Yes.
So if if Leisha is whatever she's doing there, I support her. And we have to keep doing what we're doing, and I need more people on board doing the same thing. That's
That's
not
true.
just me and Leisha. We need as much people as
As
possible.
much, yes. But
Uh,
guess
you
once
know,
what gets out,
yeah. So that is
And
the objective.
so, do you think we should join in tomorrow? And
No, let her do her thing. I used to be there. I won't get involved at this stage.
okay, I just thought like people
Yeah.
might be willing to.
No, let them do their thing, and I will do my thing here. Like I said, I support her. I encourage her, and I've been there quite a bit, so I have things to discuss on here. So maybe if we start a little later, it's okay too. You know, that's fine with me too. So
Okay,
let me see what's going on, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. It depends on how hot the issue is.
right, right. Let's see what goes on tomorrow, and then we'll
Right.
decide.
So that.
Yeah,
All right. So thank you, Nadira, and everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you for your loyal support. And like I said, if you guys have anything that you want us to raise here, please let us know. And we'll do that. And if the program is always open to anyone who wants to join, you could come in off camera. You don't have to come on camera. I know. So whatever it is that you would like us to do, please let us know. Any information, pass it on. With that, I will say good night. Thank you everyone for your support, and let's keep up the fight and don't back down. Fire full throttle ahead.
right. That's right.
Rapid fire.
Take
Rapid
care.
fire, full throttle ahead. Stay engaged. The election is over, but the fight is not over. The fight just began. All right, everyone. So let's keep at it. Good night, everybody.
Take care and good night.